when you weren't paid for it. It doesn't. Who's up?
I want you to say, I'm angry. It's okay. I love myself. Woozah.
I don't know what the f you're talking about.
Yes, you do know what the f I'm talking about.
Ooh-wee. This one is going to be a doozy. I was like, whoa, this one I guarantee is going to get a lot of comments and they're going to make a lot of people upset on both ends, on the vendor side and on the bride side. This is my opinion. This is not legal advice. I am not a lawyer, have not been to law school. I am a business owner. I do weddings. I rock the Thundercats t-shirt. We provide the photography, the videography, the DJ, photo booth, lighting, like you see back behind me, all of that stuff, and react to one of these videos. It says that the plaintiff's fiance passed away 6 days before the wedding. She is now suing the wedding planner for a refund. The defendant feels awful about what happened to the plaintiff, but says that she has a no refund policy, therefore she owes nothing. Yeah, this one is really, really sticky, and there are a lot of things that happen. You know, life happens, and as a wedding vendor, we do feel empathy for our clients. First, this planner, it's 6 days before the wedding. So this planner probably put in a lot of work on this wedding and it did not happen, but that's not the planner's fault. It's similar to if you're purchasing a house and you have this dual income and you bought this house and then you have a spouse that passes away because the spouse passed away and you don't have that income. That's not on the mortgage company, and they're not going to say, well, you know, I'm sorry, we'll go ahead and let you out of this contract. So it's similar in those regards. So again, I know we're going to have people that are commenting about this. And if you feel very strongly, we can have a discussion. Go ahead and reach out to me. I will always put all my information in the description. So you can always reach out to me and we can have a discussion about this. Hopefully nothing like this happens to anybody, but this is one of the extremes. I am going to give a prediction that unless this defendant, who is the wedding planner, unless this defendant does something or says something that upsets Judge Mathis, or unless they, meaning the defendant, meaning the wedding planner, unless they breached the contract, then they are not going to be liable to refund the money. That is my hypothesis. That is my prediction. But let's check it out and see exactly what happens.
Plaintiff Nikita Davis says after she got out of an abusive relationship, she met the man of her dreams.
Okay.
Nikita claims they got engaged and she paid the defendant to plan their wedding.
Perfect.
But 6 days before their nuptials, he suddenly passed away. The defendant refuses to refund Nikita's money, so she's suing. Defendant Shante Walden says working with Nikita was not always easy.
Well, I mean, you're planning a wedding, dude.
Appointments and didn't always keep up with their payment plan.
Oh.
Shante feels awful about what happened to Nikita's fiance, but says she has a no refund policy and therefore owes Nikita nothing.
And I'm still,
all rise.
I get it.
This court is now
no refund policy. It is written right there on the contract. Now, also, you got to have a contract. So let's see if she has a contract. I've said it before. Say it again. Always, even if you are doing it for free, always have a signed contract.
I met with one wedding coordinator.
Doesn't matter. You didn't hire them.
I met with her. She passed at the same venue.
What?
And then that's when I met Shante, when they introduced me to another wedding coordinator.
Okay.
And I went from planning a wedding to planning a funeral within 6 days because my fiance died on June 23rd.
Sorry to hear that.
She said everything is non-refundable.
That's all she said, is it's non-refundable? She didn't give you an explanation?
She told me that all the vendors were paid in full,
right, exactly.
Even though I paid her the final payment on June 22nd.
Okay.
When she was in a...
How much did you pay her on June 22nd?
I paid a total of $900 at that time.
What are the other payment dates? That's June 22nd, $900. What are the other dates?
It was one payment of $1,500 for a deposit.
What month?
And that was in January.
So January to June, okay. I mean,
January 15th.
And she didn't do any work? I mean, again, I feel sorry, but you did
April
work.
The 7th
she did work.
Was a check in the amount of $1,000 that was paid.
Okay, then we're at
On May 26th was 500.
Excuse me, 34.
Then the last
2
payments
39.
was made in June.
And that was a total of 900?
In June, it was 1,800 in June by itself.
Nikita, first, I do want to, again, offer my condolences to you for the loss of Walter. As I stated in my text message, I actually like Walter. My tenure in doing this for 11 years, he was one of the grooms that I actually did like. I think it was a cool thing.
Wow. So you didn't like any of the other grooms?
I was introduced to Nikita in February at the venue that I do services for. The previous wedding planner that she had contracted for her event had passed. So
that's crazy.
Actually, the initial payment of the $1,500 was not paid to me. It was paid to that coordinator at that point in time. For me, meeting with her from February on up until June, I worked with her to put together a package for her that was affordable, that was for her price.
Okay.
My process of dealing with her at times was difficult because she did make appointments for tastings and things like that she didn't show up to. She didn't keep in line with the scheduled payment arrangements, so I had to redo appointments for her to accommodate her.
Is the payment schedule she stated reflective of what actually?
Well,
No,
already said.
the 15.
Well, she already said that exactly. The $1,500. The $1,500 is not paid to her, so you have to go after the estate of the prior wedding planner. So she's coming in already discounted because that $1,500 that was supposed to go to her did not go to her. She has none of that money at all, so that went to the other wedding planner, and so you already deduct that. We're at $4,800 minus $1,500, so now we're at $3,300, right? And so that's where we should start looking.
$1,500 that she paid in January was paid under contract to the previous planner. She did not pay that directly to me. I was introduced to her.
That was for
actually in
someone
February.
else?
Glenda, the other wedding
The other
coordinator.
person.
Okay.
Yeah, but she didn't benefit for that. So
Exactly.
I can't give you credit for paying her that $1,500 because she had nothing to do with that.
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you want to refund in this
She did work.
circumstance?
Under the circumstances, I do understand. Again, I was still trying to be compassionate given what had happened, and I do understand. Unfortunately, in this business, because we are vendors, a lot of us are small business owners. When we block off a date for a specific client, we can't market that date to another client. So
Exactly. 6 days before.
That's the date that we have blocked off for that client. The vendors that I work with also offer a no refund policy. Now, you can get credit towards another event if you need to move the event or use it for some other type of event. Say, for instance, with the photographer.
Just say, I did work. I worked.
That's fine. But because we lose business and we can't market it to someone else, then that's why the policy states no refunds.
What she's saying is not 100% accurate.
It is 100% accurate. It is 100% accurate. I want to keep saying this so that I don't come off unsympathetic. I really feel bad what happened to her. I can only imagine. Actually, I can't imagine. 6 days before the wedding, you meet the love of your life, and then you're planning on getting married, and then 6 days before they pass away, I can't even imagine it. But what the planner said is 100% true. We have clients that book us a year out, and we turn away business. Like she said, she's a small business owner. She is basically a one-woman show, the planner here, Chante. She's a one-woman show. And she was contracted, and she keeps forgetting to say that she did work. It's not like she didn't do any work. The day of the wedding is where everything comes to fruition, but she already said she was scheduling tastings, she was meeting with the vendor, she was getting all this stuff scheduled. That's work. And the wedding day is kind of the final day of all the work. So that's number one. Say it, Chante. I've worked. I worked for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 months, whatever it was. I worked. That's number one. Number two is that day, I think she said June 29th. On June 29th, I can't do another wedding. It's 6 days before the wedding. Who is going to reach out to a wedding planner 6 days before their wedding and say, hey, I'm looking for a wedding planner. Can I hire you? It just doesn't happen that way. People book 6, 8, 12 months out in advance. So I did just want to stop here because I know she's upset and I get that, but that's what the planner said is 100% true. That is how it works.
What she's saying is not 100% accurate. She gave me a list of all these things that they said they were going to promise me: food, cakes, limo, hotels. Only thing I have that I knew was canceled was the hotel, because I called them specifically and it was canceled. So they didn't even get the money for that. The venue that she's supposed to have paid, they never received the money.
You're saying all these things. What proof do you have? You could say that the venue never even met this person, but what proof do you have? Do you have an affidavit? Do you have a text message? Do you have an email from this venue stating anything that you're saying?
So she tells me all these venues were paid, but they were not paid out. But she never called me. She never offered anything. What she offered, what I have in Texas, she told me I could use the facility for 4 hours, but if I want food or any venues, I had to pay for it myself because everything was canceled.
First of all, the no refund policy is reasonable. And so, yes, you mark that date off the calendar and nobody else can see it. And that's the only money you're dependent on. And all her vendors, that's the same thing with them. The other days that you may have wanted, they probably had booked doing other things. Now, I think you sound like you have a question of whether she was considerate. And what I just heard, she was considerate enough to get the venue, but not the vendors. Do you think she intentionally didn't want to get the vendors?
No,
she wanted to. Just like she wanted to help you on that. But she can't make the vendors adjust their calendar and lose money. There was something you were going to show me about you paid the owner of the venue $1,500 for the services under the previous planner.
She even gave me an itemized list of everything that I owe. And I had this. Okay. Here's a copy of what was paid out to the owners.
Okay. From you?
And it's 2 checks to them for $750.
Okay. Let's see them.
Okay, but what is that for, though? I mean, that could be to anything. Does it say for planner?
To Wedding Company Shantae. Who is that?
That's not the name of my business.
Who is Wedding Company Shantae? This
that's from the text messages I screenshot off my phone.
Right.
Because
who was it? Who is that person?
That's her. We were because
I've only received 1 check from them. The other 2 payments were.
Well, what was the name of the other company?
They were the same company.
She says she's not a part of that company.
Where she might be.
No, we're talking Wedding Company Shantae.
Don't say
Is this your company at all? Are you
like
affiliated?
I said, I met her in February, so the January payment she couldn't have given to me if she just stated that she met me.
Didn't you meet her in February?
I met her in February. Those are screenshot text messages with her name on the top of it. She told me when I met her.
Where's her name, ma'am?
I put it as Wedding Coordinator Shantae.
But where's the Shantae come from?
That's her name.
Shantae is my middle name.
So why do you act like you never heard of the word?
No, when you said wedding,
you know what I was talking about.
When you said
I'm asking about Shantae and you being deceptive.
What?
No.
Yes. I'm going to conclude that there's a theory in the law called act of God, and contracts are avoidable when there's an act of God. If you got a club booked to have a club party that night and there's an earthquake, then it's impossible to fulfill that contract. In this case, it is impossible for you to have fulfilled that contract. Your claim is granted. Have a good day.
See, I said it in the beginning. I said it in the beginning of this video. I am going to give a prediction that unless this defendant, who is the wedding planner, unless this defendant does something or says something that upsets Judge Mathis, or unless they, meaning the defendant, meaning the wedding planner, unless they breached the contract, then they are not going to be liable to refund the money. God, this pisses me off. This pisses me off. Okay. Here we go. All right. My conclusion. She was winning that case until she said, I don't know what this Shantae thing is. And really the way it was explaining, I understand where Judge Mathis was coming from. Like he's saying you're being deceptive, but she's like, wedding planner Shantae. That's what she wrote at the top of it. Sounded like that, on your phone, when you write, you can write
Wendy Wheelchair.
Who's she?
Denise
Handicap?
You could write anything in there and then do a screenshot of the check. Like, here's a check that I sent. She already said in February. So how could you be liable for that $1,500 when you weren't paid for it? It doesn't. All right. So anyway.
I want you to say, I'm angry. It's okay. I love myself. Woozah.
I don't know what the you're talking about.
Yes, you do know what the I'm talking about.
Going to go back here. I said in the beginning of this video, in a longer version, that it's the defendant's case to lose. As long as you don't do anything to piss off Judge Mathis, then you're going to win this case. You saw his demeanor. He was like, yeah, it's reasonable. These vendors, it's reasonable. It's reasonable. It's reasonable. And then he asked the question. He's like, what is this Shantae thing? And she's like, that's my middle name. That's not even my company name. I've never seen that. Show me what you're talking about. And he's like, you're being deceptive. You lose. Defendant loses. Plaintiff wins. Give her all the money. And if she would have not pissed him off, I don't know how that's possible, because if she would have just said like, hey, I never got this money in February. Let me see what you're talking about. I don't even know what that is. Let me see, she's bringing this into evidence and I don't even know what this evidence is. And she didn't do that. She was just like, that's not my company name. And he's like, who's Shantae? He's like, well, that's my middle name. Oh, okay. So then you're kind of being a little shady. So since I don't trust you and since I feel bad for the plaintiff, you lose. Plaintiff gets all the money. There it is. It wasn't like all the work she was going to do was on June 29th. She was working June 22nd, June 15th, June 7th, June 1st, May 20th, May 14th, May 1st. Like, she's doing all this work to plan this wedding. And basically, Judge Mathis is like, whatever. Get rid of it all. And like I said, if she hadn't pissed him off, then everything would have been fine. But she pissed him off. So there you go. I am sure, 100% sure, that I am going to hear some things in the comments, and that's completely fine. I get it. I want to hear what you have to say. And I also really do thank you for checking out my video and rocking with me one more time. My name is Damon with Complete, and I am out.